All right. Let's get this thing started. You've waited long enough. It's Flex Friday. CJ Curry here, back with another Flex Friday live stream. Appreciate everybody out there who's joining me for today's Flex Friday broadcast. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please do so now. Leaving those thumbs up goes a long way in help growing the channel, getting this video out to as many people as possible, trying to help people win more together, both here on YouTube and in Dub Club. Speaking of Dub Club, I've dropped the link to the Dub Club in the live chat. Still running a great discount where you can get your first month of Dub Club for just $5. $5 to join a kick-ass community where we're sharing our favorite picks, plays, parlays, helpful stats and information. The Discord's loaded with bots that's constantly pumping in different trends and insights from your favorite sports leagues, as well as injury news and updates. So kind of got everything going and flowing. Those of you who have been in Dub Club and Discord for some time, you can attest. We've got myself and other people in there dropping some nice picks each and every day, trying to win more together, especially. But let's run through and say what's up to all the people that are joining me live. We got a little over 30 people. If you're watching this live, drop a like, share this stream with somebody. Let's get some more people in here, try to help them with their Flex Friday slips. Got Everyday Fantasy in here. Shout out to my guy, Don P. Don P is an OG. He's been here for a long time, man. He's been rocking with the live streams, the YouTubes, the Discords, the Dub Clubs forever. So shout out to you. True OG right there. Another OG is our guy, Wesley Winston. You flex at me, I flex back at you. Happy Flex Friday to my guy, Dub. Got Jay Birch in the building, leaving the salute. I'll salute back to you. We got Gabriel in the building. Shout out to you. Thank you for being here. Sean, let's go. Love the energy. Sean is bringing the energy to the chat. Urban, hell yeah. I mean, why not? Hell yeah. Let's go. BDG, one of our newer Dub Club members. Appreciate you for showing up and joining me on your busy work day. Hopefully we find a little win together today. You know what I mean? Troy, what's up? We got Manny in the building. We back watching on my way to work. Another hardworking man. Manny, thanks for the flex. Flex right back at you. Won $200 on last Flex Friday. Yeah, last Flex Friday video or live stream that we put together, I think we ended up getting 5 out of 6 picks right. So we did a pretty darn good job. We've got quite a bit of MLB action going on today and a ton of WNBA games as well. So I think my objective, my goal for today's live stream, let's try to make a 6-pick flex play using our Flex Friday free protected play. All right. We could do like 3 MLB and maybe like 3 WNBA, kind of build out like a hybrid slip. What do you guys think? You down for that? You down for building out a 6-pick hybrid slip? 3 of our favorite MLB picks, 3 of our favorite WNBA picks. If that sounds like a good idea to you, let me know in the chat. If you have other ideas, let me know in the chat. I'm a man of the people. I'm here to serve you guys. Make sure that we're doing right by you. So, all right. BDG's on board with it. I like that. Stay hydrated, my friends. Make sure that you're keeping them beverages flowing and going here over the hot summer. First and foremost, you got to go over to PrizePicks if you haven't already yet. Now, I know many of you are already playing on PrizePicks, but if you're not, promo code CJ Curry still going to get you that deposit bonus. So when you play your first slip on PrizePicks after depositing, whether you win or lose on that, they're going to give you $50 back, which is still a pretty great promo. So link down in the description of today's video if you're not on PrizePicks, or if you know somebody who's not on PrizePicks, you want to get them involved, get them in the family, get them in the community. Links to everything down in the description of today's video. Promo links for PrizePicks, as well as links to the Dub Club, links to the Discord, links to a whole bunch of other apps. And those are both betting apps and tools. If you're looking for tools, I got those too. Save you some money on some tools. But make sure you go to the promos tab on your PrizePicks app and opt in. That's the first step of today's live stream. You want to make sure that you're opted in so that the slip that we enter is a protected play. Now, my Flex Friday is just $5. I'm limited to 5 buckaroos. They have nerfed me. They've nerfed me. I used to get 25 at one point, and it came down to 20. And then for like the last year or so, it feels like $5 is the most that they'll let your boy get, which sucks. I also get $5 tacos, $5 free squares. I mean, I'm a $5 across the board. The only thing that they haven't nerfed me on is the payout boosts. They'll let me get about $20 down on a payout boost, but outside of that, $5 for everything. What is your Flex Friday limit? Let me know. What's the amount that they give you on your Flex Friday slips? Drop it in the chat. Is it $5 like me? Is it $30? Is it $25? Is it only $20? I think everybody's got a little bit of a different amount depending on who you are. They kind of like to pick and choose. They don't really tell you why. They only give you $5 or maybe $35 or $20. Let's see what you guys are saying. $35 for BDG. That's awesome, man. Congratulations. I'm so jealous of you guys that get to put $35 down. DePorus also gets $35. Awesome. Michael hit another 6-pick last night. Congratulations to you, my friend. $20 limit for Camarcus. All right. 20 would be nice. Hey, I'd be happy with just about anything above $5. Grexo, I hope I'm saying that right. $5 for you. Yeah, I feel the pain on that one. Jeremiah, $35. Michael, only $5. Yeah, me too, Michael. Jay Birch, only $5. Oh, ouch. Feel your pain. $35 for the merchant. $5 for Sean. Used to be $20. MJ said it used to be $20. It's been $5 for the past year. Yeah, they got me on that $5 nerfy. I don't like that. Boog and Jazz. I watch for the entertainment because I don't use PrizePicks Arena. I'm a $100 to $250 unit better. Amazing. He says, I'm amazing at what I do. Well, I appreciate that. I just use PrizePicks for like those, we'll call them lottery slips. You know what I mean? Those long shot parlays, those 5-pick, 6-pick, because none of the sports books out there offer the same sort of flex product that PrizePicks and Underdog, some of those other sites offer. I think if you're doing like a big like 4-pick, 5-pick, 6-pick slip, the ability to flex on a site like PrizePicks for player props is great. But outside of that, I mean, for game props, I typically use Hard Rock Bet, which is our sports book here in Florida. But I'm mostly on PrizePicks, Underdog, and some Better. Those are like my top 3 right now. I find like those sites have a lot of value, typically day in and day out. But sometimes I like to dabble in some, sports book stuff, some game props and things like that where PrizePicks doesn't necessarily offer what it is that I'm looking for. But all right, let's see. Navia says $20. Nice. Congratulations. Yeah, I'm in Florida. I'm in Tampa, in the Tampa area. Not quite exactly in Tampa, but near Tampa. Yep. $5 tacos. Yep. Exactly, Bug. We've got Hard Rock, and then we've got Fliff as your like next closest thing to a sports book. I haven't tried Fliff yet. Kind of, I don't know, on the fence about it. There is some good value that seems to pop up on Fliff, though. So that might be something that I do in the future. But all right, let's kick things off here. Let's start with MLB. Is that cool with you guys? We'll look at trying to get 3 solid MLB picks, and then we'll switch things up and go and find 3 solid WNBA picks. We'll build out a 6-pick protected play. Again, make sure you go to the promos tab. Make sure that you opted in for the Flex Friday. So that your slip that we're going to build together is a protected slip. Just in case it goes 0 for 6, you get your money back. We want to make sure that you're using your Flex Friday appropriately. But let's start looking at some of this MLB info real quick. Always have to start with the weather when it comes to MLB. The weather situations are key and crucial. Whether you're a pitcher or a hitter, you got to know what's going on with the weather, especially if you're playing outdoors. Obviously, if you're playing in a dome, that doesn't really matter so much when it comes to baseball, but the weather can impact a lot of things. It can impact the pitcher positively. Let's say the winds are blowing in, the temperatures are cooler, right? That's good weather for pitching. But if it's the opposite, where the winds are blowing out of the ballpark, the weather is hot like it has been here on the East Coast, especially here in Florida, Well, that's going to make the ball fly further. That's better weather for hitters. You might see a little uptick in runs scored, home runs hit, extra base hits, things like that, where the wind can carry, where the humidity can help that ball travel further than it might travel otherwise. And then likewise, you might see some pitchers who don't perform so well in hot weather climates, or, when that ball starts flying over the fence or off the wall for a double or something like that, those pitchers, they might have a shorter leash. They may not last their entire outing. So those are just some things to kind of wrap your head around, some things to consider how weather can play a factor in some of these games. But let's just run through it real quick. Nothing that's really devastating in terms of weather. A lot of these you're going to see like yellow, green, or green. And that's kind of good, for us. If anything was showing up here that was like yellow, orange, or orange and red, then, those are the ones where you might want to just stay away and avoid completely. But looking at this first one here, it's the New York Mets at the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's a yellow-green. Might be one storm that pops up around game time or during game time. It could end up over the ballpark for a delay, but this weatherman here, Kevin Roth, says probably not. So that's good news for us. So if you get into a situation where the rain could be an issue and then they end up doing an extended delay because of rain, that starting pitcher may not come out there, after the delay is over, depending on how long the delay is, which means if you take any overs on pitchers in bad weather situations, you're really playing with fire. So another reason why you should be checking out the weather reports. Tampa Bay Rays at the Baltimore Orioles. Storms look to hold all west. No issues there. Athletics at Yankees. Winds are blowing in from center at near 10 miles per hour. So this is a perfect situation for, pitchers, where the pitchers are going to be in a better spot because the winds are blowing in. They're keeping the ball in the ballpark instead of it going over the fence. But the overall impact to home runs isn't all that significant. In over 100 similar weather games, we've seen just about a 5% drop to home run rate. All right, so there's a little more information for you. Green and yellow on the San Diego Padres and Cincinnati Reds. There's a couple of little showers around, maybe even a stray storm. Low chance of a delay, so that's good news for us if we're trying to take any props from that particular game. You got the Minnesota Twins at the Detroit Tigers. A storm line rips through right around game time. Decent chance of a late start, but the game will play fine after that. So some of these games, you'll see them kind of do a postponement or a delay to start the game, just so that they could play the entirety, the full 9 innings without any stoppages due to weather. So that might happen here with the Minnesota-Detroit game. But the winds are blowing in from right, and they're going right to left at 10 miles per hour. So that might not be so great for hitters, but better for pitching. Green and yellow for the St. Louis Cardinals and Cleveland Guardians. A stray shower or two. The chance of anything ending up over the ballpark is low. Warm and humid with winds out to center at near 10 miles per hour. Solid hitting weather. So there you go. Maybe some Cardinals hitters, some Cleveland Guardians hitters. You might want to throw some of them in your lineup. But of course, the weather is just one piece of the puzzle. We'll also have to take a look at who the starting pitchers are for both of these teams. So we'll get into that here shortly. Philadelphia at Atlanta. Looks like weather around the ATL might be a little wet today. Scattered downpours fire up in the afternoon. Will gradually taper off through the evening. He's leaving it at yellow for a chance of a delay. Leading up to first pitch, they're going to do a radar check to see more precisely what kind of weather we're to expect there, and if we will see a delay or not for that Atlanta Braves and Philadelphia Phillies game. San Francisco Giants and Chicago White Sox. Rain stays southeast of Chicago. Warm with winds blowing out at 10 miles per hour. That is a bump to the bats. So there you go. Giants and White Sox. Not the greatest teams offensively, more so the White Sox than the Giants. Giants obviously just got Rafael Devers, so that helps them quite a bit. But yeah, these teams offensively, especially the White Sox, aren't the greatest. But maybe there's a chance for a couple of balls to leave the ballpark with favorable weather for hitters. And then the last one, the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Kansas City Royals. Big storms will fire up in the late afternoon, early evening. Could see a late start or in-game delay. The storms are nearly stationary and are prolific rain makers. So if they do pop up over the ballpark, it could be a long wait to resume. So this one sounds like it might carry a lot of risk. I know we like playing our guys like Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, all of those guys, Bobby Witt Jr.'s in this game. So this one right here sounds like it could be a possible delay. Thankfully, it's one of the later games on the slate, so you can kind of wait to put any of these guys, Dodgers or Royals, in your lineups. You don't have to throw them in right away. You can kind of get a better idea of how that weather situation is going to play out. But that's kind of the roundup of all of the different spots across Major League Baseball where the weather could be a potential, issue or could be beneficial if you're a hitter. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit. And let's move on to looking at some of the BVP information. Now, this is a batter versus pitcher matchup report. Now, what this is basically a breakdown, a rundown of how these hitters have performed historically speaking versus pitchers in the past. Now, you got a lot of names on today's BVP report. You got a lot of historical information, a lot of hitters in that Boston Red Sox lineup against a guy like Jose Berrios, where they have bad numbers against Berrios in previous matchups. You got guys like Seattle, who have not performed well against Nathan Eovaldi. Guys from the Texas Rangers have not performed well against Logan Gilbert. So a lot of BVP info. We'll definitely be checking back in on this. As far as hot pitcher matchups, there's quite a few pitchers who are in favorable matchups based on how they've performed against some of the guys in the lineup that they're going against. Guys like Mitch Keller is considered to be a hot pitching matchup today. David Peterson of the Mets. You got Jose Berrios of the Toronto Blue Jays. You got Nathan Eovaldi. You've got Logan Gilbert. We talked about him. Kyle Freeland. I don't know if I trust Kyle Freeland. Colorado Rockies pitchers, not very good, but going up against Milwaukee, he seems to have some pretty good numbers against them. And then Jose Quintana going up against the Colorado Rockies. So a lot of hot pitching matchups. Maybe some pitchers to avoid. Brian Bayo of the Boston Red Sox going up against Toronto. And then you got Nick Martinez of the Cincinnati Reds going up against the San Diego Padres. Not good numbers for him, historically speaking. So again, we'll check in as we look at like hitters, pitchers, and things like that, and we'll refer back to this BVP report. But tons of names, too many names to go over, so we'll come back around to that later on. Now, as far as offenses go, stacks, team stacks, hitter stacks, team offensive projections. The best projected offense today is the San Francisco Giants. Right behind them, though, the Atlanta Braves. You got the St. Louis Cardinals, Los Angeles Dodgers, but again, Dodgers in a weather situation that could be, detrimental. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Chicago Cubs in a really good spot today. You got the Tampa Bay Rays, New York Yankees, Philadelphia Phillies, Boston Red Sox, San Diego Padres, Baltimore Orioles. So a number of different names that are kind of projecting well here. Those are your like green guys. And you got some teams here in the middle, and then you got some teams that are just in really tough matchups, like the Washington Nationals versus Jose Soriano, not expected to do well today. The Athletics versus Will Warren, not expected to do well. Rangers versus Logan Gilbert, again, not expected to do well. Mariners versus Eovaldi, not expected to do well. And the Chicago White Sox, even though the weather's good for the White Sox, we talked about how their hitters are not good. Landon Raup is the matchup for them going up against the San Francisco Giants. So those are some hitters that you probably want to stay away from. Hitters from those teams: White Sox, Mariners, Rangers, Athletics, and Nationals. And you probably want to go toward some of these hitters from the Giants, Braves, Cardinals, Dodgers, Cubs, etc. So, all right, let's get into it. So how do I start my research? Well, I've got some like prop categories that I like to go to. One of my favorite ones is the pitches thrown props. You got a number of different pitchers that they offer on here on the daily. Guys like, today, Ryan Pepio, Sugano, Berrios, Bayo, Ortiz, Cease, Savali, May. So where do I start with these? Well, normally I just start by looking at the matchups. So you got some guys that are in, pretty favorable matchups like Soriano, Warren, Gilbert, Eovaldi, Raup. So these are all guys that I would say would have a better chance of maybe going over their pitches thrown. I play a lot more pitches thrown than I do pitching outs. So these are some guys that, you may want to take overs on. A guy like Logan Gilbert going up against the Texas Rangers. He seems to be in a pretty good spot today. Let's see, do they have a pitches thrown prop for Logan Gilbert on the board? They do not. They do not. They do have Soriano up here. He's 96.5, which is a pretty high number, but this is the kind of guy that he can touch 100 or more pitches thrown. And he's done that, 99 against Boston, 110 versus the A's, 101 versus the Yankees, 96 versus Houston, really close. Cleveland, he had 96, really close on that one. So when he misses, he's only missing by like one pitch thrown. So we'll leave him in there right now as a potential more play. Who are some of the other guys that we were potentially targeting here that were like down on the bottom of the list? You got Soriano. They're not giving us Eovaldi. They're not giving us Gilbert. They're not giving us Will Warren. They're not giving us Landon Rout. Brian Bayo is on the list for pitches thrown. He could be a potential over target. Blue Jays are projecting down toward the bottom today as far as offenses go. Colorado Rockies versus Jose Quintana, that could be another potential play. So let's just sort of add those guys as placeholders for right now. So we talked Brian Bayo, Jose Quintana. All right, and we can run some projections on these guys. So I use the bat for MLB projections. The bat, by far, hands down, the most accurate MLB projection model out there. And they offer projections for everything. Pitcher fantasy score, hitter fantasy score, pitches thrown, pitching outs, hits, runs, RBIs, walks, strikeouts, you name it. They got a projection for everything. It's the most comprehensive MLB projection model out there. I think there's a link down in the description of today's video if you want to try out the bat. You can subscribe there and save maybe a few bucks by using my link down there. But anyway, I use that, and I also use Fantasy Labs. Fantasy Labs is another great tool for MLB projection models as well as other sports like NBA, WNBA, etc. But they also offer pitches thrown projections. And the only other model that I know of that offers pitches thrown projections is a site called LineStar. And they do a pretty good job as well. Kind of like RotoWire, not quite as good, but that's another one that you can look into. But let's start with these three. We'll go Jose Soriano projections first and foremost. So we'll go over here. We'll refresh the projections to make sure the latest data has been pulled in. And then go check out Jose Soriano. 93 is his base pitches thrown projection. His projected pitches thrown for today is 93 as well. So they have him going under his 96.5 line. So for me, I don't want to go against the projections and take the over if he's projecting for under. So I'm going to leave him off the list. Let's go to the next guy, Brian Bayo. Brian Bayo, he can be kind of, hit or miss. He can be kind of a flaky, unreliable pitcher. Sometimes he has good games, sometimes he doesn't. He's projected for a 93 base pitch count, a 93 projected pitch count for today, but his max pitches are 114. So pretty high number when you talk about the projected pitches at 93. His line today on PrizePicks is at 92.5. So it's only higher by one, but we'll leave him in there for now because it is higher nonetheless. And he is projected for a pretty good outing today. The Blue Jays offense is not projecting very well at all. So Jose Quintana, the last guy against the Colorado Rockies, 90.5 for the pitches thrown. Again, it's kind of rinse and repeat for how I go through these and research these, but he is projected for 94 on the base pitch count and 94 on the projected pitch count, which is pretty good number when you consider that his line is only 90.5. So that's another guy that I'm going to consider throwing in there today. Shout out to Ray Ray. When is the baseball segment over? I have no idea. As soon as we find 3 solid picks, we'll move on to WNBA. But yeah, just kind of getting started here with some baseball stuff. Let's see. Anybody else on here that I would maybe consider taking? You've got the Miami Marlins against Merrill Kelly. They're kind of a middle of the pack offense today against Kelly. So I don't know. That could kind of break, either way. But when you think of Miami, you don't really think of a scary team offensively. So that could be one that we potentially take the over on. So I wouldn't mind possibly looking into Merrill Kelly a little bit. As far as Jose Quintana, though, Colorado Rockies, again, one of the worst teams in baseball. Their hitters are not great typically. I mean, they can go off. Any team can go off on any given day. But as far as where they're projecting today, they're down toward the bottom of some of the lowest projected offenses today. So Quintana should be in a pretty safe spot going against the Colorado Rockies today. But let's take a look at Merrill Kelly. He's at 93.5 going up against the Miami Marlins. Kelly over his last few games, he's had 95, 98, 92, 93, and 94. So he's right around that 93 to 94 number in most of these games here. Let's check out the projections for him, though. Going up against Miami, He is projected for about 94 on the base pitches thrown, 94 for the actual projected pitches thrown. So he's over by 1 based on these projections. And then his max pitches thrown is 109. So I'm going to leave him in there for right now and see if it makes any sense to take him. So now that we kind of have like 3 solid pitches thrown props, we could go and take a look at some other projections. And I mentioned Fantasy Labs is another one that I really like to turn to. So let's go over to the Fantasy Labs page. We'll go to the pitchers. Make sure that all day is selected because we want to see, all the players from all the games. We don't want to leave anybody out, exclude anyone. We'll start with Brian Bayo. Now, he's projected for 94 pitches thrown. So they do have him going over on his projected pitches thrown. So that one looks pretty solid. We've also got Merrill Kelly at 94. So they have him projected to go over as well. And then Jose Quintana was the other one that we had mentioned. He's at 92 pitches thrown. So all 3 of these guys on the Fantasy Labs projection models, all projected to go over. So Fantasy Labs has him going over. The bat projections have him going over. So what else do I do to try to figure out if this is a good or bad matchup for a particular pitcher? Well, I use another site. It's called Outlier. Outlier is pretty fantastic when it comes to comparing game data, game information, and they just added support recently for these pitches thrown. So let's go over to the props category. We'll go MLB, and then we'll start plugging in some of these guys' names. Let's start with Merrill Kelly. Merrill Kelly sitting out here at 93.5 pitches thrown. And then you can take a look at his game logs here. Hopefully you can see that up on your screen. And he's done a really good job over the last 10 games or so of clearing 93.5 pitches thrown. He's actually done so in 7 out of his last 10 games. So it seems like they've ramped up his pitch count here recently. If you look at the full scope of things, the first 7 games or so of the season, the most he touched was 93 pitches thrown. But in the last 10 starts that he's had, his pitches thrown are through the roof. He's been hitting 94 more pitches thrown in a lot of his last 10 games here. But, matchups are everything. Styles make fights, as they say. So let's scroll down here and take another look at another stat that I like to look at. So for this, I go to pitching outs. And then I come down here and I take a look at some of this data, how Miami has performed against right-handed pitching. And you can kind of see here that when we look at this information, as far as their batting average, they've actually improved versus right-handed pitching in the last 30 days versus their numbers for the season. So they went from 7th in batting average up to 2nd versus right-handed pitching. So that's kind of scary when you look at some of this OBP information. They were 16th, now they're 7th. All right. OPS, they went from 15th to 17th. The numbers here, it looks a little sketchy for me for Merrill Kelly. One other thing that you can look at, though, is how Merrill Kelly's pitches per game change when he plays at home versus when he plays on the road. And that can make a difference sometimes. So when you look at his home games, he goes up to 94.3 pitches thrown, which is a uptick versus his regular average of 91.1 overall. 91.1 overall, but when you look at just the home games, he goes up to 94.3. How many times has he cleared 93.5 when pitching at home? 1, 2, 3 times. 3 times. So kind of a tough matchup on paper. We know Miami's kind of a middle of the pack projected offense. If I had to lean one way or the other on this, just based on where they're projecting today, I would probably lean over on Merrill Kelly. But I think I'm just going to leave it alone because it's a little too dicey for my taste. So let's look at Jose Quintana as well. Again, we're using Outlier to kind of look at some of this information here on a guy like Jose Quintana and his pitches thrown. Going up against the Rockies, it is considered to be a hot pitching matchup for Jose Quintana. We looked at that earlier. Hot pitching matchup, according to RotoWire, and how he's performed historically against some of the hitters in the Colorado Rockies lineup. So that's another good thing to kind of take a peek at when you're evaluating some of these props. And yes, I do this for every one of these props. I do. I'm very thorough. I try to look at as many data points, as many angles as possible on a prop before making a decision. So looking at Quintana here for his pitches thrown, he's hit some pretty high markers through this season so far. 100, here's 94, 98, 101, 101. A little bit of a down game in his last one against Minnesota, only 90. But I like going back to a guy after he had kind of a lighter workload, like a 90 pitch workload. Usually he'll kind of like bounce back. Colorado versus lefties haven't been great this season. When you see a lot of green in here, their season rankings, their last 30 rankings, like not a team that you really fear. Although they have improved their numbers versus lefties over the last 30 days, just overall not a really scary offensive team are the Colorado Rockies. One other thing that I consider with these pitches thrown props and any pitching props is I always ask myself, is this the first time or is this, the second or third time that a pitcher has faced this particular offense? And in this case, this is the first time that Quintana will be facing the Colorado Rockies this season. Why that's important is because the more times that a lineup sees a pitcher, the more that kind of shifts toward the favor of the hitters and shifts away from the favor of the pitcher. So the more times that these hitters face these pitchers in a season, the more beneficial it is for the hitters. But in this case, this is the first time that the Colorado Rockies are going to be facing Jose Quintana. So I like that. Kind of favors Quintana in this case. So he averages about 91.2 pitches thrown for the season. At home, 98.3 pitches thrown. A huge uptick, a huge spike up for Quintana when he pitches at home. So 100 against the Tigers early on in the season, 91 against the Cubs, 101 against the Padres, and 101 against the Cardinals. So the numbers go up, and up for Jose Quintana pitching at home in Milwaukee. So for me, he's going to stay in the lineup at more than 90.5 pitches thrown. Again, he has cleared this in 4 out of 4 home games, home starts. So I really like that one. I think that one has a lot of solid data behind it. Looks like a worthwhile pick to me. So we'll leave Quintana in there. Let's take a look at Brayan Bello against the Toronto Blue Jays. He's at 92.5 pitches thrown. We need him for 93 or more, so we can kind of dig in a little deeper here on the outlier page for Brayan Bello information. Again, this guy's kind of flaky. Sometimes he comes out there and looks like an absolute stud. Some other times he comes out there and looks like a dud. But we're looking at taking the over on the pitches thrown. So let's dig into the information a little bit more here. He's averaging about 93.5 pitches thrown for the season. Solid number. We need 93 out of him tonight. So he's averaging 93.5. We need 93 out of him tonight. As far as how he's performed this season on this number, well, he's gone over in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times he has gone over. 6 times he has gone over. So about a 50% hit rate. Now he is pitching at home tonight. So when he pitches at home, he averages around 95 pitches thrown. A little bit of an uptick versus his season average of 93.5 overall. All right, so tends to throw a few more extra pitches when he plays at home. Maybe he's a little bit more comfortable with the environment, with the setting, with the scenery. But yeah, slight uptick when he pitches at home. Going down here and taking a look at the matchup, though, Toronto versus right-handed pitching has been really good here in the last 30 days. Their numbers have improved quite a bit. They've went from 13th in batting average versus righties up to number 2. 17th in OBP up to number 6. Seems like they're finding their groove. OPS was 14 for the season. Now they're up to 4. All right. So it's a little scary here. I think I'm going to leave Brayan Bello alone. But again, like Merrill Kelly, if I were to lean one way or the other on this prop, I'd probably lean over. But I think Jose Quintana looks like the better play or the best play of the ones that we've looked at thus far. So we'll leave him in there. We need 2 more MLB props. I like this one. I don't know if you like it or not. You guys can let me know your thoughts, feelings, opinions in the chat. But I'm leaving this one in at 90.5 pitches thrown. I'm going to take him over. Looking really solid to me. 2 more picks, boys and girls. 2 more MLB picks, and then we'll shift things over to WNBA. Try to find 3 solid WNBA picks and throw it in our 6-pick flex play. Let's go over to the chat. Let's see what you guys are liking. We have a super chat. Appreciate the super chat, by the way. We have a goal for today's live stream of 5 super chats. Again, if you're leaving a super chat, I'm going to prioritize that one. It's like a fast pass at Disney World. It gets you to the front of the line. So I appreciate the super chat. I'm going to leave a little heart on there for you. All right, Manny. Manny, thank you for the super chat. He's liking Pete Alonso, I'm guessing, over fantasy score. Hope you're having a good day, man. Wanted to get it in before I go to work. Thank you so much. Pete Alonso over fantasy score is Manny's super chat. So let's take a peek at Pete and see if the polar bear is ready to go off today. The New York Mets playing against the Pittsburgh Pirates. 6-hitter fantasy score for Pete Alonso. Pretty low number for a guy who definitely has power. He's got that home run potential. Going up against Merrill Kelly today, I believe, is the starting pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So whenever I evaluate hitter fantasy score, obviously I'm using projections. I use projections for every sport whenever I can. You should be too. There's a number of different free projection sites out there, but the paid or premium projections are usually the ones that I would highly recommend. Sites like RotoWire give you the most bang for your buck. Definitely check out RotoWire if you want to save 25% on a 6-month or 12-month picks membership. There's a link for you down in the description of today's video. Highly recommend RotoWire. They cover the most sports. They cover the most DFS pick'em apps and sports books out there. Very great tool. And they have a really sexy little mobile app that works super well. Best value out there by far, though. I think whenever you use my discount code and you do a 6-month or 12-month, I think the 12-month comes out to maybe like, I don't know, $12 per month or something. Super affordable. But anyway, let's look at Pete Alonso. We're going to use projections, and it's important for me to remind you guys, and some of you may be hearing this for the first time, that when you're using projections, you should be using DraftKings projection models to help you decide on PrizePicks for hitter over or under on hitter fantasy score. But caveat here, if you're looking at pitcher fantasy score, you need to be using FanDuel projections for pitcher fantasy score on PrizePicks. Some of y'all don't know about DraftKings and FanDuel. DraftKings and FanDuel started the daily fantasy sports trend, all right? They used to let you build out a lineup to try to win $1 million. I mean, it was a thing about 10 years ago or more. Now sports betting has come in. You don't hear so much about DraftKings and FanDuel from a daily fantasy sports perspective. Now it's all about DraftKings Sportsbook, FanDuel Sportsbook. But before they were sports books, they were daily fantasy sports operators. So they still offer daily fantasy sports for DraftKings and FanDuel. PrizePicks considers themselves to be a daily fantasy sports site as well. Not a sports book, but we know better. It's a loophole, legal loophole. Anyway. Pete Alonso, 6-hitter fantasy score. Let's take a look at the New York Mets and how they're projecting overall offensively today. The Mets, for whatever reason, I'm actually not seeing the Mets up on this projection sheet here for projected offenses. Mets are not showing up, so they must be like some weird one-off game. So we could go over to... Let's go over here to RotoWire and type in Pete Alonso's name. This is basically going to give us any sort of historical information. Pete Alonso versus Merrill Kelly, or not Merrill Kelly, Mitch Keller. There you go. That's the guy, Mitch Keller. So Mitch Keller, right-handed pitcher, 12 at-bats. Pete Alonso has faced Mitch Keller 12 times. I hate to tell you this, but in the 12 at-bats against Mitch Keller in his career, Pete Alonso is 0 for 12 with 1 RBI, 3 strikeouts, and 1 stolen base, which means his batting average is 0. His OPS is 0. His slugging percentage and OBP are 0. So Pete Alonso against Mitch Keller has not fared well. That already gives me a little bit of cause for concern. Not a single hit, 12 plate appearances. We're off to a rough start for Pete Alonso versus Mitch Keller. All right. Let's look at some projections for Pete Alonso here, though. We're going to go over here to RotoWire. Now, this is not to say that Pete Alonso can't come out there and hit a home run or hit a double or hit a triple or something like that could totally happen. I'm just saying, historically speaking, it hasn't happened. Facts are the facts. But yeah, I think I'm kind of good on Pete Alonso. Maybe he figures it out today, but I don't know that I want to pay to find out. He is projected for 8.69 hitter fantasy score. which puts him over 6 fantasy score by about 2.7. You take a look at some of the games here for Pete Alonso. I mean, he is coming off of a game where he had 15. The game before that, he had 7. So he went over in his last couple of games. If you want to just isolate the last 10 games, about a 50% hit rate. What I don't like about a guy like Pete Alonso, he's not a big stolen base guy. Normally, if I'm taking hitter fantasy score, it's because all the other picks for that player are either demons or goblins. Or I'm taking hitter fantasy score if a guy is a good stolen base artist. Guys like Ellie De La Cruz, Shohei Ohtani, Ronald Acuna, O'Neal Cruz, guys like that who can steal a base, who can hit for power. Those are the type of guys that I like, that are on good offenses. So I'm a little sketched out here by Pete Alonso's poor historical performances against Mitch Keller, damn it. I'm going to get it right. Keller. So that is a projection, though, 8.7 for Pete Alonso. Let's check out my favorite projection model again, which is the BAT. This is hosted on Roto Grinders and EV Analytics if you're interested in it. Looking at Pete Alonso here, he is projected for about 9 hitter fantasy score. Again, his line is 6. You never know. He could always just bust one. And I'm talking about a home run. I ain't talking about that other thing. We ain't busting anything but home runs. Busting baseballs, all right? But about 9 hitter fantasy score is his projection here on the BAT. So a couple of projections for Alonso. I got to be real, though. I'm probably not going to take him. Probably not for me. I'm going to skip out on that one. But hopefully that helps you make a decision. That's just what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a spectator, not a participator in this particular prop. So I'm going to leave him off. Pete Alonso's a no-go. No-go on Pete. Let's see. We got another super... Oh, shit. He said Pete Crow Armstrong. Damn. Pete Crow Armstrong? Ooh. All right. See, man. Too many Petes out there. Too many Petes. Pete Crow Armstrong. Totally different guy. Totally different situation. At least you got some information for Pete Alonso. It's like a 2-for-1 special, man. Pete Crow Armstrong is at 6.5 hitter fantasy score. Way different scenario here. Pete Crow Armstrong, good stolen base guy. He can hit for power. He could be a little boomer bust. Sometimes he'll put up 0. Sometimes he'll just completely go off for like 14 like he did a few games ago. But yeah, you got to be more specific. Just put in PCA next time. So my mind immediately went Pete Alonso. At least you know to stay away from Pete Alonso tonight, right? Pete Crow Armstrong. Houston Astros is the matchup. We already talked about the Cubs being in a good spot today. They're going up against Brandon Walter, who is fairly new to the scene, fairly inexperienced pitcher, not a household name, probably a guy that the Cubs can take advantage of and beat up on, right? So we know that the Cubs are the 5th highest projected overall offense today. So Cubs are going to do what they do. As far as stolen base matchups go, Pete Crow Armstrong in a favorable stolen base matchup against the left-handy pitcher, Brandon Walter. So it gets a green check mark here on Swish Analytics for a positive stolen base matchup. So Pete Crow Armstrong is in a good stolen base matchup as well. Again, this goes back to what I was saying. When I take somebody for like hitter fantasy score, I want to know that they can kind of hit for power, that they could steal a bag potentially, that they're on a good offense for the day. So Pete Crow Armstrong definitely checks off a lot of those boxes. Now, one other thing that I like to do is I go back here and I kind of take a look at how a guy like Pete Crow Armstrong, PCA, performs against left-handed pitching. And so you could do that here by using RotoWire. Just another reason why you should sign up for RotoWire if you haven't yet. But then I come down here and I take a look. All right, is there any historical data for Pete Crow Armstrong versus Brandon Walter? In this case, there's not. First time facing him. First time he's facing him, but he is a lefty. is this pitcher. And Pete Crow Armstrong versus lefties has not been sexy this season. He's much better against right-handed pitching. And why do I say that? Well, if you look at this 2025 versus left, 2025 versus right, you're going to notice a big difference here. Against lefties, his OPS is .626. But against righties, his OPS is .956. Huge difference. A lot better versus righties than lefties as far as OPS goes. Same thing with batting average. .183 against lefties, .302 versus righties. So the numbers would seem to indicate that Pete Crow Armstrong is a much better hitter when he's facing a right-handed pitcher. Now, add on top of that, this is the first time he's going to be facing this lefty. And it becomes a little bit, a little sketchy. But let's take a look at the projections because the projections know way more about baseball than I do. So Pete Crow Armstrong, 6.5 hitter fantasy score. If I were to play any PCA today, it would probably be for the fantasy score just because he does have stolen base upside. And when you steal a base, you get 5 fantasy points. So if he gets walked and then steals a base, boom, he's over 6.5 pretty easy. If he hits a single and then steals a base, he's over pretty easy. If he hits one out of the park, that's a definite over. He's over his fantasy score in just one swing of the bat. But for me, Pete Crow Armstrong, I'm going to be taking the over on his hitter fantasy score before I would his hits, runs, and RBIs, banking on hopefully him like stealing a base. But taking a look at the projection, 8.18 is his projected fantasy score number. That's 1.68 hitter fantasy score higher than where he's at on PrizePicks today. 2025, he's hit the over on his hitter fantasy score in about 60% of the games that he's appeared in. That's actually a pretty good number, and those stolen bases really help with him hitting that over. The last 10 games, not too bad. 50% hit rate. I mean, for a baseball player, a hitter, a 50% hit rate is decent, man. It's actually pretty good. So he's potentially due here. He's had 5-5 in his last couple of games versus the St. Louis Cardinals. So maybe he bounces back to life today, steals a bag. We'll have to wait and see. Let's check out another projection, though, for Pete Crow Armstrong. This one, again, is over on the bat, which is, again, my favorite MLB projection model. He is at 8 hitter fantasy score there. So they do have him going over by about 1.5. But I just want to point out something to you real quick. Although it is an over, it's not that big of an over. Like, you've got guys on here, and I'd have to kind of compare to like PrizePicks. Let's just go like hitter fantasy score. I normally look for like differentials of like 2 to 3 fantasy score or more. Like, there's probably guys on here that have sort of like bigger gaps or differentials between their projection and what they're at on PrizePicks. Like, let's look at Ronald Acuna real quick. Like, Acuna's at 9.5, but he's projected for almost 11.93. So that would be an example of like a guy who's projected for like 2 fantasy score higher than where he's at on PrizePicks. So like, that's the kind of thing I look for. The bigger the gap, the bigger the differential, the better. So it's kind of a sharp projection when you compare like Pete Crow Armstrong's 6.5 hitter fantasy score versus his line on Roto Grinders is at 9 or 8. So I don't know. But there's a couple projections for you. Again, if it was a right-handed pitcher, I would feel a little bit more comfortable. Could he get it done? I mean, yeah, he could get it done. I don't want to talk you out of it. If you love it, take it, man. We don't know what's going to happen for sure. So if you love it, don't let me sway you off of it. Anyway, any other picks that you guys are liking? Someone mentioned Logan Gilbert for Ks. Interesting. Logan Gilbert for strikeouts. Yeah, I mean, he's in a good matchup. We already talked about that. We know he's in a good matchup. Let me pull in the prop professor here, which is my go-to optimizer of choice. We'll blow this up a little bit so you can see it a little bit better on screen. There we go. Make sure we have all the proper sports and settings. Yep. All looks good. So you said Logan Gilbert for more than 7 strikeouts. So based on the data that the prop professor optimizer pulls in here, and what it does is it goes out and it scans like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, like probably 20 or more different sports books and DFS pick'em apps, and it scans them. It looks at how the money's coming in on the over, the under on a given prop, and then it'll give you a VIG-free number, percentage, chances of a player prop hitting. And when we look at that, 52.6% is the chance for Logan Gilbert to go under 7 strikeouts. So I know you were mentioning the over at 7. I mean, if you're getting him at 6.5, I would probably take the over, but at 7, mathematically speaking, is not a good play for you to take him over 7. I wouldn't touch him at 7 for the over. I mean, he could tie, he could push, very real possibility, but yeah, mathematically speaking, it doesn't make sense to do that on PrizePicks. But if there's another site like a sports book or something, and you wanted to take him over 6.5 strikeouts there, that would probably be a pretty good play. I'm seeing, I mean, the odds at 6.5 aren't great, so you could probably get a pretty nice chunky payout at over 6.5 strikeouts. Yeah, I'll definitely post the slip for Dub Club Discord after I'm done building it. So if you gotta go, you gotta go. No problem. I got you. What are some other guys in other good spots? Well, we talked about Ronald Acuna. Ronald Acuna versus right-handed pitching is just always a go-to for me. He's going up against a relative newcomer, Mick Abel, or Abel. I don't know how you pronounce it, but yeah, he should be in a pretty good spot. And of course, Ronald Acuna, if you played him last night, did not have a good game. He was the guy that I talked about earlier, though. So he's projected for, let's see, 11.93. The only issue with this is that he is in a situation where the weather could be impactful here. We talked about this a little bit ago. Scattered downpours in the afternoon. They'll taper off through the evening. Could be a chance for a delay, but we don't know how likely a delay is as of right now. So, yeah, not quite sure how we should approach this. We could leave Acuna alone for right now, but I mean, Acuna, like I said, versus righties. I mean, there's just certain guys you just have to play in, some of these matchups, and Ronald Acuna versus right-handed pitchers is one of them. Let me see. Is this guy a righty or lefty? He is a righty. This will be the first time Acuna has faced him, but he is a right-handed pitcher. And Acuna's numbers versus righties this season are absurd. 1.307 OPS, a .449 batting average, 0.538 OBP, and a .769 slugging percentage. So, yeah, Ronald Acuna versus right-handed pitchers. If you see a right-handed pitcher and you see Ronald Acuna, you might as well take a shot on it. And I think I'm going to, actually, even despite the weather situation. If this slip wasn't protected, I probably would wait on Acuna, but at 9.5 hitter fantasy score, I think I'm going to take a stab, especially coming off of such a crap game that he had last night. Let's run some other projections on Ronald Acuna. He is projected for about 10.32. This is RotoWire. I mean, but look at his numbers over the last 20 games or so, 15 games or so, just crushing. So I think I'm willing to go back to Ronald Acuna. Let me check the stolen base matchup for Acuna as well, because if it's a green check, if it's a good stolen base matchup, then, I might really be in love here. It looks like Mick Abel is considered to not be a good stolen base matchup. But again, this guy's new to the majors, so we don't really have any data here for Mick Abel to reference. I think he's only made a couple of starts, so still, cutting his teeth in in the majors. So I'm not like shying away from him. I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Rest in peace to the GOAT. The GOAT of all Pete's, Pete Rose. Yeah, shout out Pete Rose. Sucks they finally are like, yeah, we're going to lift the ban now that he's dead and, let him into the Hall of Fame. Well, he's still got to get voted in, but he should get voted in, I think. But let's see. What else are you guys liking? These are the two that I've got so far. Ronald Acuna and Jose Quintana. Let me check one more projection here for Ronnie. For this one, we're going to go over to Fantasy Labs and take a quick peek at their projection for Acuna. I mean, if it's like 11 or 12, then I'll probably take it. Yeah, it's at 11. So Acuna is the 4th highest projected hitter on today's slate, according to Fantasy Labs. Again, use DraftKings projections to compare versus PrizePicks hitter fantasy score. Other guys that are looking really good on Fantasy Labs are Bobby Witt Jr., Aaron Judge, Fernando Tatis, Rafael Devers. All of these guys are like 11 or higher on Fantasy Labs projections. So those are some other options you could take. The only thing about a guy like Bobby Witt going up against Dustin May, it might be like a good spot for him individually. But the fact that his team is projecting like mid to low is not good. I don't like that. I would like for his overall team projection to be higher, like the Atlanta Braves, 2nd highest projected offense today. It would be nice to know that if Ronald Acuna gets on base, that the guy behind him could potentially knock him in and he could score a run, which would help his fantasy score, or the other way around. If the guy ahead of Acuna in the lineup gets on base, you would like that guy to be able to get on base, whether it be a walk or a hit or whatever, and get into a scoring position. And then Acuna has a chance to get an RBI. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, I like looking for players who are on a team that is like projecting well offensively versus a guy like Bobby Witt, who could do it on his own. I mean, he could crack a home run and go over his fantasy score. He could steal a base after getting walked or getting a single and like go over his fantasy score probably pretty quick. There are definitely ways where Bobby Witt Jr. gets over his fantasy score, but I would, much prefer that his offense be up here where like the Giants are or the Braves are or the Cardinals are today. Hopefully that makes sense to you though. Isaac Collins, not familiar with the name, not familiar with the player, but he's at 3.5 fantasy score. I have him projected for about 6.16 fantasy score. So I guess I would lean toward the over without knowing much more about him. He must be kind of like a, newer player? Haven't heard of him. But yeah, he is projecting to go over. Collins is. Isaac Collins? Yeah, he's projected to go over on RotoWire as well. 7.97 projected hitter fantasy score. I guess this dude's been like raking here over the last 10 games or so. Been getting the job done, huh? Going up against Kyle Freeland today. Hey, that could be a good spot. Let's see how he does against lefties generally. Isaac Collins. Yeah. So he was on the Brewers AAA Nashville affiliate last season. So he's a newbie. He's a newcomer. Have not looked his way, I'll be honest with you. He's faced Kyle Freeland 5 times already in his big league career. He's got 2 hits on 5 at-bats versus Freeland. Not bad for a small sample size. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Not too shabby. Versus lefties, good numbers. He's a little bit better versus righties, but good numbers nonetheless against lefties. Solid enough. So, yeah, I mean, I don't hate that. If you wanted to take a shot on this guy. Again, Kyle Freeland has not been that great of a pitcher throughout his major league career. A little bit better this season. At least he started the season off well. As far as the Brewers, they're kind of a mid-pack, mid-tier offense today against Freeland. But, yeah, I mean, this is a guy who's got good head numbers in a small sample size versus Freeland. Offense is kind of okay, but, Freeland is one of those guys where you just never know. He can come out there and crap the bed any night. Let's look at one other projection. He's at 6.89 projected fantasy scored today versus Freeland. Yeah, pitcher's mid for sure. I mean, this isn't an elite pitcher. Kyle Freeland is not somebody we shy away from. He's not, I don't know, Freddie Peralta or Hunter Green or Paul Skeens or Chris Sale or Jacob deGrom, more like prime Jacob deGrom. He's not somebody that we shy away from, Kyle Freeland. So I'll add him to the slip for right now. He can chill in there with my guy Acuna. He's been hot. Eventually what goes up must come down, but 3.5 hitter fantasy score is almost like, sheesh, that's comical. I mean, that's like a single and a run scored, or like 2 walks, or a double would put him over, a walk and a stolen base. A lot of different ways you can get over 3.5. I don't hate that. I'll leave him in there. All right, so we got our 3 MLBs. Is there any of these that you don't like, that you'd rather get away from? I mean, y'all let me know in the chat. Are we okay with going with these 3 guys? We already know the caliber player Ronald Acuna is. And the fact that he's coming off of a bad game, like, I don't mind going back to him against a right-handed pitcher. You guys have a lot of different recommendations. Seiya Suzuki over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. I mean, that could be a play. Suzuki had a crap day yesterday, of course, because I played him yesterday. That's how I know that. But Suzuki could be one that you look toward. I've seen some people touting Suzuki today. Let me just look up Suzuki's. Oh, well, he's not even on. Is he on PrizePicks? I don't think he's on PrizePicks. He's projecting for about 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs today. Probably won't be able to get his hits, runs, and RBIs on PrizePicks, so you'd have to like pivot to something like fantasy score for him. Yeah, 6.5 hitter fantasy score. We already mentioned the Cubs are in a really good spot, right? So we know that about them. His hitter fantasy score on PrizePicks is 9.77. He's at 6.5. His projection on the bat is 9.77. He's at 6.5 on PrizePicks. So you could go Suzuki if you wanted to. I mean, it doesn't look like a bad spot for him. Let's just look at his some of his numbers here versus the handedness of this pitcher. So lefty, Brandon Walter is a left-handed pitcher. Suzuki's numbers versus lefties are insane. A lot better versus lefties. Over a 300 batting average versus left-handed pitching. Over an 1,100 OPS versus left-handed pitching this season. Over a 700 slugging percentage versus lefties. So, yeah, I mean, I would say put Suzuki on your radar if you haven't already, for sure. A lot of people liking some Jazz Chisholm for what? More than what? Fantasy score? Are we talking Jazz over hits, runs, and RBIs? Going up against Atlanta today. One thing that I always look for is when PrizePicks doesn't offer a player's like OG lines, all they offer are these goblins and these demons. To me, that tells me that PrizePicks thinks this guy is in a good spot today and that he could have a good game. Okay. HF, hitter fantasy. Got you. Yeah, he's at 5.5 hitter fantasy. Had some pretty good games here recently. Is he in a good stolen base matchup? He is in a good stolen base matchup. He's stolen 50 bases over the last 2 seasons. One of the better base stealers in baseball. He's going up against Mitch Spence, who is a right-handed pitcher who's given up 19 stolen bases. So again, stolen bases are worth 5. Anytime a guy steals a base, you get 5 hitter fantasy scores. So Jazz Chisholm in a good stolen base matchup. If you wanted to go a little further on this, you could kind of take a look at how Jazz has performed against right-handed pitching for the season. He's faced Mitch Spence twice in his career. He's 0 for 2 with 1 strikeout. Very small sample size. I definitely wouldn't like hang my hat on this and say, oh, I'm leaving him alone. Like we saw with Pete Alonso, when you face a guy 12 times and you don't have a hit against him, that's a little concerning. But a guy like this, where he's only faced him twice, I'm not so worried about that. You know, could have just been a bad night for Jazz. You never know. As far as how he's done against right-handed pitching this season, pretty good numbers. .847 OPS, .233 batting average, OBP .338, and a .509 slugging percentage, which is good if you think he's going to potentially hit a home run tonight. 9 home runs off of righties out of the 10 that he's hit have come, 9 out of the 10 home runs that he's hit have come off right-handed pitchers. So he is going up against a right-handed pitcher today. So that's good news for Jazz. Let's check some projections out for Jazz, and then we can kind of like switch off and go like WNBA for a little bit. The bat has him at 7.37 for the hitter fantasy score for Jazz. He is at a higher projection, it looks like, here on RotoWire. RotoWire's got him at 9.71. So there's a second projection for you. Pretty big one. 4.21 projection differential versus his line on PrizePicks. So that looks good. And I'll get you a third and final projection for Jazz. This one's Fantasy Labs. Fantasy Labs has him at 8.14. So, yeah, those are a few different options. I probably will like stay away from Jazz since I already have like some other hitters in here. I'm gonna rock with these 4 for right now, but we'll leave the option open to potentially take one of these guys out if we find a lot that we love on WNBA. All right, so switching things up. WNBA picks. What do you guys got for me? You guys let me know. While you guys are letting me know about WNBA, Rogelio is asking about Mauricio over 1.5 shots. It's a soccer play. Gotta be honest with you, don't know shit about soccer. But maybe I can find some information out for you here on the fly. Maybe. But I'm being real. I ain't no soccer guy. I don't mess with the proper footy. Let's just take a peek though. Let's see if Mauricio shows up here on the optimizer. He doesn't. No sportsbook data for Mauricio. Okay. Well, sorry, but can't find him there. Let's check him out over on RotoWire. I mean, where are you finding this guy? RotoWire usually has some soccer info for us. I ain't finding nothing soccer related on RotoWire today. When does this game take place, my friend? Rogelio, I can't find anything about Mauricio. Oh, tomorrow. Got you. Yeah, it's not even on like RotoWire. I literally can't find anything regarding this particular pick. I mean, let's go here. Is it a Premier League play? MLS Serie A? I don't know, man. You gotta help me out. Me no hablo soccer. Club World Cup. Yep. Foreign language to me. Don't know anything about it. But I can't find anything on it, man. Wish I could help you. WNBA, anyone? All right. Yeah, he might be able to help you out. Pure's probably got a better read than I do. I can't find anything about this dude. All right. WNBA it is. Let's go. So another way that you can like start your research off if you have a tool at your disposal like the Prop Professor is, you come here and you just punch in WNBA and boom, you're met with a ton of different positive expected value WNBA plays. Now, again, what this tool does, goes out, scans all the sports books. It goes out and scans all the different DFS pick'em apps, and it basically kind of gives you a good snapshot of how people are betting different player prop markets. So it's going to look at, which way the money's coming in, how these lines are set on other sports books, how these lines are set on other DFS pick'em apps. And it's kind of comparing all those, in real time market data. And then another important thing that it does is it strips out the juice, the VIG, and it kind of gives you a fair odds, fair percentage, fair chances of a player prop to hit. All right, Taj says Mauricio is good for 2 shots on goal. So there you go, Rogelio. Got somebody who's backing what you're liking. But yeah, this is a good place to start with like some WNBA research. Another way that I like to approach WNBA picks is I'll come over here to a tool like Fantasy Labs. They have this whole little like cheat sheet based on their WNBA projections. And I'll come here and kind of like look around and see which ones have the highest winning percentage. So, these tools really just like shrink the board down, put you on more sharp plays with more of an edge or advantage. And so, this is another way that you can kind of do something similar. Shrink the board down. Show me the picks with the highest winning percentage. Show me the picks that are projecting the best, or, show me the picks that have the best sports book data behind them. Same thing when you come over to an app or a site like RotoWire. So with RotoWire, it's pretty cool. You just come over here to your favorite sport category, WNBA for this example, and boom, you're just met with nothing but WNBA plays, projections, lean more, lean less. Shows you these little bar graphs here, giving you a quick glance at like how the DFS pick'em sites are lining up on a prop, how the sports books are lining up on a prop, how the RotoWire projections are lining up on a prop, what the hit rates are looking like. So these tools are invaluable. It's better than opening up the PrizePicks app, swiping through the board. Oh, this looks good. Oh, let me check the last 5 on this one. Oh, it's all green. Yeah, let me put more on that one too. Let's scroll through again. Oh, let me switch over to esports and check out some CSGO. You know what I mean? It kind of helps you like narrow down the board. It saves you time, provides projections. Let's look at Reframed Bias's recommended play, which is Aaliyah Boston of the Indiana Fever for more than 35.5 fantasy score. Again, if you're going to use fantasy score projections for WNBA, FanDuel projections. Make sure you're using FanDuel DFS projections if you're looking at projections versus PrizePicks. And so RotoWire already has that all calculated for us. Their projection for Aaliyah Boston today is 40.38 player fantasy score. I do believe that Caitlin Clark is expected to come back today. She was out last night. This is a back-to-back for Indiana. But I think they expect Caitlin Clark to play today. She's listed as a game-time decision. So we don't really have like clarity. She's kind of day-to-day. She's got a groin issue. She missed Thursday's game against the Sparks. So we're not sure if she's playing yet or not. Now, for me, I don't like taking overs on players like Aaliyah Boston, for example, without knowing if their best player, Caitlin Clark, is going to be in or out. So I would like maybe take like a wait and see approach on this one. She is projected to go over, but until we get more clarity on Caitlin Clark's status, this might just be like, hey, let's wait and see on it. But if you go here to the fantasy score section of Outlier, you can kind of take a look at how Aaliyah Boston has done. on this fantasy score number of 35.5 fantasy score. She's gone over in 10 out of 15 games. Now you can take things a step further and you can look at games with Caitlin Clark. When she's played with Caitlin Clark, she's actually got a 78% hit rate. Seems to hit the over on her fantasy score at a higher rate when she plays with Clark than without Clark, averaging about 40.5 player fantasy score with Caitlin Clark in the lineup. So kind of interesting. You would think that without Clark, Boston would have maybe a higher hit rate, but that doesn't seem to be the case. 40.5 with Clark. Without Clark, 28.82. Huge difference there. 40.5 fantasy score per game with Clark, 28.8 without her. Plays worse without Caitlin Clark. So in this case, maybe you're crossing your fingers that Caitlin Clark does play, is in tonight, because that seems to help Aaliyah Boston when Clark is out there with her. Kind of interesting, though, when you dig around and you start playing with some of this data here, some of these game logs and stuff. Now, you could take things a step further. You could look at the head-to-head games. Aaliyah Boston versus Dallas, head-to-head. This is going to look at games from last season because this is the first time Indiana and Dallas have met this season. Last season, though, Boston 2 out of 3 hitting the over versus Dallas. So that's all we have to go off of. We don't have any game logs from this season for Aaliyah Boston. You can also look at something like how Aaliyah Boston plays on 0 days of rest on a back-to-back. So she's averaging about 35.87 fantasy points per game. This will be the first time that she has played a back-to-back. So can't really look at the back-to-backs data. Now you could go back to 2024 and look at how she's played on back-to-backs. Not good on back-to-backs. But those teams that she went against on those back-to-backs were Las Vegas and New York, who were two of the better teams from one season ago. So take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, I mean, that's just some ways that you can like leverage Outlier's fantastic tools here. If you want to take Outlier for a spin, there's a 7-day free trial down in the description of today's video. Hopefully that helps you out, though. Let's get you a couple more projections on Aaliyah Boston. We already looked at RotoWire's projection for her. 40.38. 40.38. So they have a big projection of her going over. Let's look at Line Star. Boston on Line Star. Line Star, another tool that provides WNBA projections. She's at 36.8 projected fantasy score on Line Star. So over, but just slightly over. Slightly over on Line Star. And then we could also check out Fantasy Labs. Let's see if they have their projections loaded for the WNBA. They do. And again, you want to make sure you're using FanDuel projections for WNBA and NBA. So we go forward, we go Boston. And Fantasy Labs has her at 30.93 projected fantasy score. So they have her going under by quite a bit. So some mixed projections on Aaliyah Boston. Again, for me, I would wait and see. See if Caitlin Clark's playing or not. If she's in, I'd probably lean toward the over. Although Aaliyah Boston is going to be on a back-to-back. Maybe there's fatigue. Maybe that plays a factor. Done pretty well against Dallas in the past, though. But hopefully reframed bias. That gives you a little bit more information on Aaliyah Boston and how you should approach the 35.5 fantasy score prop. Yeah, Sean, kind of the same thing. Echoing what I just said there. Clark plays Boston over. If not, go under. Yeah, I like that. Like that approach. Because the game may not even, well, I shouldn't say that. Dallas sucks. So the game will probably still be close even if Caitlin Clark sits. But, you know, Boston on a back-to-back without Clark hasn't been so good. Let's see here. Rocket Raccoon helped us hit the over on our super chat goal of 5. Appreciate you. You're a real one. Always showing up for these videos. Always showing up for the community. Nafisa Collier over 20.5 points. Okay. Nafisa Collier over on 20.5 points. Well, let's take a peek at Nafisa Collier. She is projected on RotoWire to go under 20.5 points today. 18.7. Huge projection for the under, actually. Her line's 20.5. RotoWire says 18.7. She is going up against Atlanta. She has not fared well against Atlanta in the past. Atlanta's kind of got that twin tower lineup going. Brittany Griner, Brianna Jones. So, I don't know. It may not be a walk in the park for Nafisa Collier today. This will be the first time that she's faced Atlanta this season, though. This new look front court of Griner and Jones. I think both are expected to play, right? Yeah, there's no injuries listed for Atlanta, so both Brianna Jones and Brittany Griner should both be in there. And then on top of that, they've got, wings like Ryan Howard, who is solid, Jordan Canada, Alicia Gray. I mean, Atlanta's got a pretty solid team. Pretty solid team. Let's check out Collier's point projection for Line Star. Line Star's got her at 22.6 points. So RotoWire's got her going under by about 2. Line Star's got her going over by about 2. Let's see if I can get you a projection for her over on Fantasy Labs real quick. Nothing for Collier on Fantasy Labs. We can also check out the sports books for Collier. Her points at 20.5, 53.3% chance that she stays under 20.5. So the positive expected value play, the plus EV move would be to take the under at 20.5 points. That's which way the money is coming in on countless sports books here, 15 to 20 different books. All the money, all the juice coming in on the under at 20.5. So if you like her to go over 20.5 points, don't take it on PrizePicks. Take it on a site where you get rewarded for taking on risk, for going against the grain. All right? But the points, I'm going to stay away. Stay away for that one. Kayla Thornton, over 14.5 points. First check, we just go here to the optimizer, punch in Thornton's name. Points and rebounds is actually the most optimal way to play Kayla Thornton right now. 21.5 PR, 53% chance that she goes over that line. You could also look at Thornton's points at 14.5, which is the one that Jamal, STL, is mentioning. But the one that actually has more money backing it, the one that has higher lines on some of these other sports books of 22.5 would be the points plus the rebounds. So both of these are overs, but one has a higher percentage, a better mathematical edge of hitting for you, and that's the points plus rebounds at 21.5. All right, so just checking out some other info here on Kayla Thornton. RotoWire's favorite over on Kayla Thornton today is the points plus rebounds at 21.5. Projected to go well over at 24.5. I kind of like the fact that she's coming off of a bad game, a subpar game for her standards. Only 18 points plus rebounds against a tough New York Liberty team. So this could be a good bounce back situation for her. I mean, she's averaging 22.1 for the season. Her line is 21.5, and she's coming off of a down game. Prior to that, she had hit 6 straight games of going over 21.5 points plus rebounds. 33, 29, 34, 22, 22, and 29. Against Chicago, hasn't had good numbers, but all these games from last season, her role's different now. Take this with a grain of salt. She was on a totally different team, totally different situation. So don't even worry about what she did last season against Chicago. It doesn't matter. She's a different player, different beast. The points, 16.13 is her projected points. She's hit the over on this in 50% of the games this season. Had a 6-game hit streak going before falling short against, again, a tough New York Liberty team. So perhaps this is a bounce back game for Kayla Thornton going up against Chicago. Now, Chicago ain't going to be any easier. They got, Angel Reese, Cardoso. They got some pretty good front court size for Kayla Thornton to go up against. So maybe not the easiest matchup for her. She kind of plays the wing a little bit more. They got Talbot and Billings as their bigs. Cardoso's out. Oh, that's key information. Cardoso's out, so it's going to be Elizabeth Williams starting at center. So maybe they're a little bit weaker in the front court without Camila Cardoso. So could go Kayla Thornton here for maybe more on the points or more on the points plus rebounds. Just checking out the projections for her here on LineStar. LineStar has her going for 16.8 projected points, and they have her going for 22.6 projected points plus rebounds. Both projected to go over. So good projections on the points, good projections on the points plus rebounds on LineStar. As far as Fantasy Labs, they have her leaning more on the fantasy score, the points, rebounds, and assists. So they like Kayla Thornton to go over those 3 categories the most or the best. So, yeah, I mean, we could throw her in there. I'll throw her in there for points. I ain't scared. I'll throw her in there. Kayla Thornton in a bounce back game? Sure, why not? So we got Quintana, Acuna, Isaac Collins, maybe the dark horse play of the video. Suzuki, and we got Kayla Thornton. Can we get one more pick to finish off this slip, this Flex Friday protected slip? One more pick? We need one. Un más. One more. You guys liking anything else from the W? Any other WNBA plays sticking out to you? You got to make sure you check mark your Flex Friday protected play in your slip builder. Yep. Hey, Kayla for fantasy score could be good as well. Angel Reese over rebounds. Josh is liking Reese Cup. Let's go check out Angel Reese real quick on the prop professor. Angel Reese. All right. Here's what I'm seeing on Angel Reese. Rebounds and assists, 54.1% chance that she goes under. 54.1% chance she goes under. That's rebounds plus assists. Points plus rebounds, 52% chance she goes under. Points and assists, 51.5% chance she goes under. Rebounds at 11.5, 51.2% chance she goes under. It's a lot of unders on Angel Reese today. Pretty much everything. So I'd stay away from Angel Reese. You're going against the grain. You're going against a bunch of money coming in on the sports books. Look, you might get it right. You might be right. Maybe she goes over rebounds. But again, if you're going to take her over on rebounds, don't do it on PrizePicks. They don't pay you any more or any extra or any incentives for going against the sports books, going against the odds. Go take it on Sleeper. Go take it on a sports book if you want to take her over 11.5 rebounds. But doesn't make a damn bit of sense to take her over 11.5 rebounds on PrizePicks. You're taking on risk and not getting rewarded for taking on the extra risk. Sabrina Ionescu for what? Over any prop? You're liking all the Sabrina today after her crap performance the other night? She's been dealing with a neck issue. So I'm a little iffy on Sabrina. She may not be 100%. She kind of played like ass a couple nights ago. It was definitely a Brianna Stewart game. But I don't know which way you're wanting to go on Sabrina, but here's just some options for you. Under on 4.5 rebounds, almost a 54% chance of that hitting for you. Over, if you want to take the over on her points plus assists at 23.5, 53% chance there. Under on her rebounds and assists combo at 9.5. About a 53% chance there. 18.5 points, they have her going over, about a 52% chance. So, I mean, that's just the way the money's moving on Sabrina Ionescu. Assists? They don't even have her assists. Well, they do. They have her at 5 assists. She's at about a 51% chance of hitting 5 or more. We could look at that one. That's about the only one that looks like maybe a solid over for her based on the odds from these books. Let's see. She's projected for about 4.9. Coming off of a game where she only had 4 assists, she's going up against Phoenix. She's hit 5 or more assists in 5 out of her last 6 head-to-heads versus Phoenix. Most recently, June the 19th, she had 6 assists versus Phoenix in that one. So maybe it's a bounce back spot for her against Phoenix. Played them about 2 weeks ago, though. A little over a week ago, I should say. Closer to a little bit over a week ago. So she's at like 4.9 projected assists. Fantasy Labs, let's see. Fantasy Labs, they don't really love Sabrina for anything over. They've got her under 9.5 rebounds and assists and over 2.5 3-point makes. As I mentioned, she is dealing with a neck issue. Maybe she's not 100%, so taking anything like points related might be a little iffy for me. Here's another projection for her assists, 5.3. So there's not much of a gap between her line at 5 and these projections at 4.9 to 5.3. I mean, if you wanted to take like a softer line, like a goblin for Sabrina and throw it in your Flex Friday, I guess you could. But for me, why take a goblin in your protected play when it's a protected play? Like, you might as well swing big since it's win or get your money back, right? Like, you're gonna be protected. You're not gonna lose anything. So I don't know, unless you just want like the low-hanging fruit, something that's gonna be more of a sure bet. You know, you go with a green goblin or whatever. But I don't think it makes any sense on a protected play. But what else, gang? What else? We need some other WNBA looks here. Angel Reese, points and rebounds, leaning over. Caitlin Clark, we don't know if she's playing, so I'm going to avoid her for right now. Ariel Atkins for Chicago, over 17 points plus assists versus Golden State. Let's take a peeky peek. Atkins has been landing on or clearing 17 points plus assists in a good portion of her games here. 70% hit rate. She's projected to go over. Hasn't played Golden State yet this season. Decent performer on the road. Has hit the 17 or more mark in 4 out of her last 6. What do you guys think? Ariel Atkins for more than 17 points plus assists, projected for 19.3. Has she crossed your radars? She's projected for about 19.6 points plus assists over on Line Star. Another good projection for her. And then looks like Fantasy Labs likes her more for the 16.5 points plus rebounds. So that could be another potential option for Ariel Atkins. Sportsbook data for her, over 3.5 assists, 53.4% chance. They have her going under on just the points on their own at 13.5. Rebounds and assists, under at 7. Points and rebounds, about a coin flip, whether she goes over or under. A little bit more info there on Ariel Atkins. What about those assists? Just the assist at 3.5. She is projected to go over 3.5 assists. Might not be a bad move. Check out something else here. No Camila Cardoso. So I wonder if that helps Atkins in any kind of way. I don't see. I think they took her assists off, like just the assists on their own, or they look to be gone. Gone, baby, gone. I don't even see them up here anymore. Griner. You know, the one that has been helping me out a lot is, and we used it last week, was like Griner at like 5 rebounds or like 4.5 defensive rebounds. She's been doing a decent job getting some of these boards. Look at, I mean, against Minnesota, she's hit 5 or more rebounds now, and shoot, 8 out of 9 games head to head. This will be the first time she faces Minnesota this season, though. Points, perfect against Minnesota. But, I mean, there's some games where she scores like 2 or 3 points, like makes 1 bucket, 2 buckets. 54% hit rate this season on the points, 62% hit rate on the rebounds. Could go Griner maybe for rebounds at 5. She's like 4.8 projected rebounds over on LineStar. Ugh. Paige Bucher's field goal attempts. Paigey field goal attempts at 15. Over or under? Because she is projecting slightly under tonight. Is Dejanay Carrington still out? She is. Carrington's still out. McCowan's out. Segrist is out. Wow. Okay. A lot of people out for Dallas still. So it's pretty much, you know, Paige Buchers and Arika Ogunbowale. Ogunbowale. There we go. I don't mind. I don't think I would mind Paige Bucher's like over field goal attempts. Unfortunately, I only have one projection for her, and it's RotoWire, and it's an under, but it would seem to make sense that she would have to shoot the ball a lot or more without Dejanay Carrington in there. At home this season, the last 2 games, she's hit 15 or more field goal attempts. 15 against Atlanta, 18 against Golden State. But, yeah, no previous games against Indiana. This is the first time she's going to be facing the Fever this year. So you're kind of flying a little dark, a little blind with Paige Buchers, being that this is the first sort of matchup for her. What about Alyssa Smith rebounds versus Atlanta? It's not looking too bad. Alana Smith. Sorry, not Alyssa Smith. Alana Smith. She's hit 5 or more rebounds in, 5 out of her last 6 games? Versus Atlanta, she seems to rebound well. This will be the first time she faces Atlanta this season, though. The new look Atlanta Dream with Griner, with Jones. Under Ariel Atkins. Okay. You could take the under on Ariel Atkins. So says Sean. Gabby Williams is another interesting one who's been pretty productive this season, coming off of a bad game. She very rarely has 2 bad games in a row. As you can see from her hit rates here, when she does have a bad game, she usually bounces back and has a pretty good game the next game. This will be the first time she faces Connecticut this season. Really solid at home for the most part, hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of her last 8 on the 21.5 PRA. That's what I was thinking too, James. I was thinking of a Gabby bounce back spot. Is there a prop that she's hitting at a higher clip than 67%? Rebounds 60%, defensive rebounds 53, fantasy score 53, points and assists 60, points and rebounds 53. She does a little bit of everything, so I think the PRA would probably be the way that I would want to go. Gabby PRA, 67%. Let me look at some other projections here. Fantasy Labs doesn't really have much on Gabby. They like her for 4 or more rebounds. Line Star. Line Star likes Gabby Williams, 25.1 points, rebounds, and assists. Let's see, do the sports books like Gabby Williams? They do, for the most part. 51.8, so we'll say 52% chance she clears her points. Almost a 52% chance that she clears the PRA. Kind of digging that. Kind of digging some Gabby Williams. I think she can be a part of the club, the 6-pick club. I don't mind that. Yeah, I mean, Connecticut sucks right now. I mean, you're seeing opponent versus stat here on Line Star, like everything's green. They're one of the most giving teams in the points, rebounds, and assists category. You know, rebounds and assists category, fantasy score. Yeah, Gabby's in a good spot versus Connecticut on paper. Of course, she still has to go out there and get it done. But Jamal, thank you for the super chat, putting us well over our goal of 5. I appreciate that. He's liking some Sabali over 7.5 rebounds. The better of the Sabali sisters. Let's take a peek at this one. So for Sabali overs, 52.6% chance on the PR, about a 51% chance she goes over just the points. And if you're liking the rebounds, it's got the lowest chance of hitting at 50.5%, but slightly over. If you're going to lean, I mean, it's more of a coin flip, let's be honest. More of a coin flip on her rebounds than anything, going up against the Phoenix Mercury. So let's look at Sabali a little closer here. Let's see what Fantasy Labs has to say about Sabali. Fantasy Labs projections, under 2.5 assists, under on the 10.5 rebounds and assists. So not looking sexy here. Not looking great. RotoWire, let's check out Sabali on RotoWire. 7.5 rebounds against against the Phoenix. She is projected to have about 8.5 rebounds. She's gone over 7.5 boards in about 67% of the games she's played. So that's like every 3 games she appears in, she goes over in 2 of them. She is coming off of a down game against Chicago, and I always like to look for those bounce back spots. For a girl who had hit the over on her rebounds in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of her last 12 games, and then she has a down game against Chicago. I'm sorry, she's on Phoenix. I don't know why I keep confusing that. Down game, it's because her sister plays for the Liberty, I think. Down game against Chicago, like maybe she bounces back against the Liberty. She's only faced New York once this season, but had 9 rebounds when she played against them last. So, I mean, it could be a bounce back spot for her. Kind of see where your head's at with it. She's been consistent over the last 12 games, 15 games. 8.6 is her projected rebounds. And New York's kind of a middle of the pack team this season in terms of rebounds allowed per game to opposing teams. So, yeah, I mean, I guess I would lean toward the over on Sabali. If you think Phoenix is going to keep the game close and competitive, because the Liberty, they might just come out and wax them. They might just blow them out. Could blow them out. But hopefully that helps you out. Everyday Fantasy with a super chat. He's liking Yuru. Am I saying that right? Yuru? Not Yoo-hoo. Not the chocolate drink. We're talking about Yuru. Under 23.5 fantasy score. Who does Yuru play for? That is not a household name. Oh, the center for Dallas that's starting for McGowan. Okay. And you want to go under against Indiana? Yuru. All right, let's take a peek. Let's see if we can get some information on Yuru. So she is definitely projected to go under, according to RotoWire. RotoWire has the lean less for Yuru under fantasy score as the top option for under. For this season, she's been mostly limited in playing time, limited on her minutes. Couple of games here in the last 3 where she's just like went off against Connecticut, against Atlanta. She's at 23.5 fantasy score. This is a weird one for me. Weird one. Like, I know she's stepping into more minutes now. 34 minutes played in her last game. I mean, if she's going to get that kind of minutes, then, you know, it's going to be inevitable that she probably goes over her fantasy score at 23.5. Let me pull her up here and just take a look at her game logs and see what's going on with her. I mean, Dallas is decimated by injuries right now. So she's probably going to step into a larger role, more playing time. Yeah, her minutes are starting to creep up. They're starting to climb a little bit. So this could be like potentially trappy. Could be potentially trappy. The last few games, you've seen her have like 13 minutes, and then it goes up to 24, 22, and then 34 minutes. If she plays 30 plus minutes tonight, I'm scared of taking the under on her fantasy score. But her minutes are all over the place. So your guess is as good as mine as like what her role is going to be tonight. Indiana's a good team, though. Here's a projection for Yuru under 23.5 fantasy score. She's at about 19 on Line Star. So, I don't know. This one to me just seems like unnecessary risk, potentially. Like one we don't have to take. There's probably better options. There's so many WNBA games. This one feels just like a roll of the dice. Like it could just be an easy under, or it could be like, damn, she got 35 minutes tonight and went over and killed it. So that one's got me a little perplexed. GG Awesome says, can you check Brendan Donovan hitter fantasy score over? I will be glad to pull up a projection for you. I think we've got our 6 picks though. Donovan, I got him projected for about 8.6 hitter fantasy score. I think we've got our 6 picks. Let's see. Yeah, Quintana, Acuna, Isaac Collins, Suzuki, Kayla Thornton, and Gabby Williams. I guess they had tried bumping Gabby Williams up, but then retracted the bump up. So she's still at 21.5. But yeah, I'm going to roll with that. My Flex Fridays are only $5. Risk however much you feel comfortable risking. But yeah, this is what we got. This is what we got, gang. I'm going to share this slip with the Dub Club community. Appreciate everybody who's a Dub Club member. If you're not a Dub Club member, $5 is all it costs you for your first month of Dub Club. I just dropped a link in the live chat. $5 to get in for your first month. Super good deal, good value. I'm dropping slips. Other people in the community are dropping slips. We're dropping picks, plays, parlays, stats, and information. Here's the Flex Friday live slip we made on YouTube. Gonna send this out to the community right now. Get a little screenshot here for them so they can see what's good. Boom, boom. For those who weren't able to attend the live stream that are in Dub Club, now they have the link. I think we Gucci, gang. All right. Let's put a bow on this thing. Appreciate everybody joining me for today's live stream. We're going to be doing these every Friday for Flex Friday. All the love, all the support, all the likes, all the shares of the channel and in these live streams goes a long way in helping the channel grow. You guys keep showing up for me. I'm going to keep showing up for you. And good luck on all your picks, plays, and parlays today. If you're in Dub Club, I'll be sending out some more slips here soon. Catch you on the inside. Peace.